Welcome, everyone, to the Spend Life Well Show, where we apply biblical wisdom to your financial journey. I am Certified Kingdom Advisor Mark Trice. I'm joined here in the studio today, as always, Jesse Hamilton, one of our financial associates, financial advisors. Hey, Jesse.
Thanks for the welcome.
And happy birthday.
Thank you.
Happy
Today's
birthday to Jesse. Jesse today is turning 19. And we're so excited for his 19th birthday. Only kidding. I think he's somewhat of an adult now.
Yeah, somewhat.
But, he's one of our financial advisors here in our office, and we're glad that he's part of the team and stuff. But happy birthday.
What do we get to talk about on my birthday?
Well, we're going to talk about, because there's been a lot of volatility lately in the market, we're going to talk about 5 do's and don'ts during times of market volatility.
Okay. So this year so far, we've seen a few volatile months and a few flat months. We kind of see a little bit of both, but let's get into this.
But still volatility, right?
Yeah, it's definitely volatility.
So there's a lot of things that are creating uncertainty for us right now.
Yes,
right?
There are a lot of things in the macro environment that we look at.
And one of them is the debt ceiling. Hopefully that by the time this show airs, they'll have it resolved, because I think, Janet, I'm always yelling,
Yep.
The Treasury Secretary has said that we run out of cash on June 1st. So, we don't do this show live. We've recorded a little bit in advance, but hopefully that will be resolved, and Congress will get their act together and get everything that they need to do.
Right.
So during these times of uncertainty or fear, humans are prone to make decisions based on their fight or flight response. Now, did you take psychology when you were in college?
I did, stuff? Just basic stuff.
Okay, so you've heard of the fight or flight response, right?
Yep. Your body's trying to keep yourself alive.
Right. So this is even true to financial decisions. And a lot of people, when market volatility shows up, many people make knee-jerk decisions.
Right. We saw this in 2008. I mean, I wasn't a financial advisor then, but we saw people just say, I can't handle this anymore.
Yeah, and we've seen decisions that were made back then, even last year, where people just gave up and they sold at the worst absolute bottom time in the markets.
Right.
But people do that just so they can feel in control.
Mm-hmm.
It may not be the best decision, but they want to feel like they're in control.
So our first item is don't panic.
Yeah. Don't panic and make emotional decisions. It's real hard to do, especially when you have this overwhelming fear that you are going to lose money.
Right.
Whether that's true or not, the fear can be crippling and cause a lot of panic.
We really want people to be asking the question, why am I doing this? If you're making a big decision, whether it's a buy-sell decision or something in your financial plan, do you have a specific reason, or is it just because I feel like I have to do something?
Yeah, and a lot of people, to be honest with you, people make a decision based on that emotional thing. Think about, and we usually make those mistakes larger, but just because we base it on emotion.
Right.
Now, think about when you're driving your car, Jesse, and you accidentally edge off the edge of the road. What we tend to do is we jerk it to the left.
Overcorrect,
and that causes a reaction or a wreck when we overcorrect.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of things true with your money. Knee-jerk, emotional decisions often tend to do more harm than whatever it is we're reacting to.
Right. We have several connections that are behavioral finance experts. Maybe we can get one on the show sometime.
Yeah.
But they have a very interesting perspective on why we make these decisions.
So ask yourself, folks, when you're tempted to make these decisions in times of volatility, ask yourself, as Jesse mentioned, why am I doing this?
Right.
Right? Why am I doing this? So the second thing that we want to do's and don'ts here, you do want to think long term.
Right.
Now, we're trained market technicians, and we use relative strength and momentum and active risk management to help manage our clients' portfolios. I mean, a large proportion of people don't know how to do that, and we don't time the markets. We just use our technical analysis that we use to determine here's where the relative strength of the market is going right now.
Right.
And so most investors need to think long term. And investing by its nature is a long-term activity.
It is, and we're talking about beyond even the accounts that are designed to be long-term. So your retirement accounts, things like that, they're designed, they legally are bound to be long-term investments.
Well, and a lot of times people, even folks that are approaching retirement, think, oh, I'm retiring next year. Therefore I need to stop investing. And it's like,
Right.
wait. How long do you think you're going to live?
Exactly. It's one of our philosophies around the office here. There's always that next phase. Your investing horizon, even if you're retiring next week, your investing horizon is not a week.
That's right. Your investing horizon is 20, 30, maybe even longer.
Right.
With that, we've seen people retire well over
And
40
it'll be
years.
unique for each person.
That's right. So while market volatility is uncomfortable, it's pretty normal and it's somewhat overrated. Market volatility actually presents us opportunities when we look at it the right way.
So what about the driving analogy that, you said that you make that knee-jerk reaction and you overcorrect? How does that apply here?
Well, you're number one, Jesse, you're supposed to take your foot off the gas,
Okay.
right? And slow down a little bit and then edge back onto the pavement. I'm just doing my driver's ed. Remember my driver's ed.
In the house, don't you?
Huh?
Young drivers in the house?
That's right. So we actually practice that.
Huh.
It's one of our things when we're teaching our kids to drive, is to do that. So because there's a lot of rural markets and things, but I digress.
Yeah.
So markets fall over the days and weeks and sometimes months, like we had last year in 2022. Even the course of this year, we've had some really precipitous drop-offs, but they're temporary. If you react and think of the last time that you were caught in a traffic jam, you're sitting there idling in traffic when suddenly the lane next to you starts to move. So what do? You quickly try to merge over into the other lane because that's the one that's moving.
Right.
What usually happens, and I'm thinking of a movie here, Jesse. Do you know which movie I'm thinking about? No, you don't, because you've never seen it. It's Office Space. Office Space, the very beginning of the movie, he's trying to get to work. He's frustrated because he doesn't want to go to work. And so he keeps moving back and forth, trying to adjust to the traffic situation. And eventually there's a guy on a walker on the sidewalk who's moving faster than he is because he keeps changing lanes.
Sometimes for our listeners, Mark is a library of movie quotes.
Yeah, many useless movie quotes. But so sometimes we just have to keep like the guy on the sidewalk. We just keep moving forward. Be patient, because then again you're going to get stuck and it gets really frustrating for us, right?
Right.
So when volatility hits like this, investors sometimes panic instead of sticking to their long-term strategy. So they sell when everybody's trying to sell, right? And that means they're selling low. In other words, they're changing lanes in that traffic jam, and we're thinking about this at the long term. The road we're on for retirement, we often talk about that in our financial planning process, is your roadmap to retirement. It is a very long road. Sometimes that speed limit's at 75 miles an hour. Sometimes it's only 25. But when you take shortcuts, usually leads to problems and longer delays. Think about, before we had GPS and the maps on our phones and things, we had to read the maps and things. And a lot of times I'm guilty of not reading the maps. So I would go where my instinct was. And that didn't oftentimes made it such that we didn't reach our destination on time.
Well, when I was a young driver, we didn't have the phone GPSs, but you would go on the computer and then print it out that way.
So what's another do in times of market volatility, Jesse?
Yeah, you do want to think about your current asset allocation and your risk tolerance, because that's going to apply specifically to you and it's likely to not change.
Yeah, and generally speaking, younger people can often afford to weather this extreme volatility we've had in the last year. And more mature folks who are very close to retirement, maybe not so much.
Right.
But I will tell you this, you need to look at your portfolio to determine whether it's time to move into more conservative investments or leave them a little bit more exposed and be able to tolerate the swings.
Right.
Now, when we see years like 2022 and even some months this year, we find a lot of people are like, wait a minute, that's not the roller coaster I signed up for. And
we have seen that.
During positive trending markets, people tend to overestimate their tolerance for risk. So always look at that. Make sure that it's in line with what you're able to tolerate. And so you'd always want to ask for a second opinion if you're not sure. You can contact us in our office if that's something you'd like help with. We don't charge anything for that, just to give you a stress test as to what type of volatility you're experiencing. A lot of people
Right.
don't realize
Well, I was
the
going to
risk that
say
they're taking.
the standard human behavior is to just avoid it when you think it's bad, but we really encourage you to look at your statements so you understand what's going on.
Yeah, I true story. I had someone that was talking to me about their how their accounts were doing and stuff, and I said, "Have you opened your statements?" And they said, "No, I'm afraid to look."
Hmm.
And we had to coax her into looking at her statement so she knew what was going on. Sometimes we just want to bury our head in the sand.
Hmm.
All right, JC, what's the fourth thing we want to talk about here when times of volatility? It's a don't.
Yeah, it's a big don't. Don't look at your portfolio every day and stress over every dip in the market.
Yeah, you want to worry about stuff, Jesse? Look at your investments every day.
Right.
Because there are going to be up days, down days. What are we comparing that to? Oh my gosh, I'm nervous about something. I can't sleep because I'm thinking about my portfolio. That's a surefire way to cause stress in your life.
It sure is.
If you look at your portfolio every day.
And a great way to do it is to look at multiple time horizons. Look at the month. Look at the year to date. Look at the 12 months to date. Different timelines will give you perspective on how you're doing.
Think about your portfolio as like your body temperature.
Okay.
Right now, normal temperature is what, 98.6 or something like that?
Something
I
like
think they've
that.
changed it sometime. Infants are a little bit different. But it's like it's constantly changing throughout the day. Maybe 98.6 might be 98.7, might be 95.3.
Right.
That's a little chilly, but it fluctuates all the time. Your portfolio does the same thing. So it's important to look at your portfolio over the long haul. As Jesse said, 12-month periods, 24-month periods. How is it going? Okay. And then the final thing that we kind of visit about here is a do, and that's create an emergency fund if you don't have one already.
This is a great one. We talk about it all the time. There's lots of different guidelines that people want to say what's conservative, what's reasonable for a person in your specific situation. But let's just talk about 3 to 6 months first.
Yeah, so that's always a good idea. And three to 6 months worth of expenses.
Right.
Folks, if you don't have an emergency fund set aside, then I can see how periods of market volatility can be very concerning. When you have an emergency fund, when you have that 3 to 6 months, maybe a little bit more of cash saved up, you can really not have to worry, because if for some reason you lost your job, you would have revenue there or income there to be able to draw from for a few months until you find another job. A lot of people have been concerned. Are we going into a recession? Folks, if you're concerned about going into the economy going into recession, which we don't know, maybe it will, maybe it won't. If I have an emergency fund there, I can weather some of those times and not have to worry about potentially a slowdown in the economy. So having that emergency fund, folks, that's the building block basis. This is the cornerstone of a good financial plan, is having that emergency fund there before you invest, to make sure that you're on track for being able to handle some of the volatility.
Exactly.
So, Jesse, market volatility is never fun, right?
Nope, but it's always a current part of investing.
It's normal.
It's normal.
Yeah, and so long as we remember to think in the long term and rely on rational thought over emotional thought, we can always continue working towards our goals and dreams.
And if you ever want to talk about market volatility, maybe compare your portfolio to a benchmark, if you just want to know what's going on, give us a call. We would love to have that conversation.
Yeah, that number is 800-491-4508, 800-491-4508. And until next time, folks, we thank you for joining the Spin Life Wealth Show. Have a great day.